Here is my June 2022 energy forecast. A timeline split is imminent and we need to prepare for what is coming. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I work together with an interdimensional, interuniversal, and extraterrestrial force known as Telstar, along with Archangel Michael. In this video, I'm going to talk about the exact nature of a timeline split and what we need to focus on if we want to stay on a higher timeline. So let's start with the two different ways that we can live on this planet at this time in June 2022. The first way, which is the most common way, is to live unconsciously assuming that everything will continue to go on as usual. Now, this would include waiting around for some invisible people or ETs to come and save us at the very last minute. And the problem with that is we're already kind of past that last minute at this point. Now, the second way to live in June of 2022 is to expand the awakening of your consciousness and decide that you are ready to shed all of the mind control and brainwashing that we have been exposed to all of our lives. It also means to actively prepare yourself for the massive changes that are underway on this planet. Now, that first, more common way to live puts your destiny in the hands of others. But the second, more conscious way to live puts your destiny in your own hands. That first, more unconscious way takes little or no effort on your part because it mostly consists of waiting to see what's going to happen next. The downside of living in this way is that you can be easily manipulated and sent to a lower timeline by the controllers. Now, the second, more conscious way to live means that you put an end to what I like to call kind of a suicidal level of waiting. You put an end to the waiting, and instead, you take your life and your soul into your own hands. You decide that the time is now for you to start living again as a creator in this universe. The truth is that we as humans are designed to function as empowered creators. But we have been so damaged and so degraded and so debilitated on this planet that we don't even remember what that means. We have a tremendous amount of healing that we need to do in order to restore our power. And we can begin that process right now. It all has to do with how you position yourself in this universe. We need to psychologically remove ourselves from the domain and the context of the controllers. That is the first step. We need to make a massive paradigm shift in our consciousness that awakens us to the fact that we are not meant to be used and we are not meant to be slaves. We can actually stop wondering if this is all about free will and having chosen this miserable situation in order to learn something. Now, if you want to stay in that mindset, you certainly can, but that will not evoke the paradigm shift necessary for you to move on from this kind of ridiculous situation. You know, I've been doing this work for a long time, and I remember the days when people secretly knew that there was something really special about them. They just didn't know how to let that specialness out, but they knew it was there and they could feel it. You don't hear people talk like that anymore. All we ever hear now is how the controllers are bashing humanity and how people like to bash each other. All we ever hear about is how terrible we are and how we are destroying the planet. And now it's even gone so far that if you are born a woman and you feel like a woman, or born a man and feel like a man, well, then you are the worst of the worst. And, you need to be changed because that's just wrong. Plus, it's kind of offensive. Talk about turning against yourself, right? And now we hear that children are told that doctors only just guess a person's gender or sex when they're born. I mean, They don't really know for sure. Oftentimes the doctor is wrong, so we are told. Well, if doctors are this stupid, then they must be the dumbest life form on this planet. Even insects know the difference between male and female, but we're supposed to believe that we're not even as smart as an insect in this regard. We're being told that if you are so confused that you actually believe that you could be a woman who was born a woman, or a man who was born a man, you may just want to chop off those wrong body parts and straighten yourself out. So there, take that, you worthless, ignorant human. Now, this level of bashing humans is dangerous, and it's completely out of control. It's dangerous because it's designed to completely obliterate any notion or experience that you might have about what it means to be human. It's meant to remove your spiritual desire to be a human. And if you lose sight of what it means to be human, you don't have a great chance of getting off of this lower timeline that we are all being rapidly shoved into. So I want to point something out to you that you may not have recognized. We have been collectively brainwashed to believe that the main purpose of life is to please anyone who we view as an authority in our lives. We have been told that we will be rewarded if we do, and punished or rejected if we don't. Now, what I have just described to you is the very same system that we use to train dogs. The trainer or the owner is the authority in the dog's life. This person tells the dog what to do. If the dog does it, the owner or trainer is pleased and rewards the dog. It gets rewarded with either approval or love or maybe even a treat. If the dog fails to obey the command, then the dog is punished with removal of the reward. The dog's independent behavior is rejected. This is exactly how we are raised as humans. Now, I'm not saying that we should not train our dogs. I mean, domesticated dogs actually like to be trained when it's done humanely. But we're not dogs. In fact, our human intellect and consciousness is so far away from a dog that it's like in another universe. If you doubt that, ask yourself if dogs could have built cars and houses, entire cities, and even spaceships like we humans have done. So why are we being brainwashed to believe that we are no more advanced than a dog? Why are we treated like we are no better than an animal? Do you see a problem here? If we do not psychologically exit this system of mind control, then how are we supposed to reconnect with the amazingness of what a human being really is? See, the controllers have reached a point where they want us to hate ourselves so deeply that we ultimately reject our humanness. This is a trap that we cannot afford to fall into. This is how they plan to either justify killing us or turning us into digital AI versions of our former selves. If they can get us to emotionally and mentally embrace the idea that we are horrible, useless creatures who don't deserve to exist, then anything goes after that. Now, the frightening thing is that many people are actually buying into this hatred of our human selves. And you can see evidence of that by virtue of the fact that people are so willing to attack each other over nothing. You see it in the extreme level of dehumanization, where all you have to do is say one wrong thing in someone's eyes, and they want nothing to do with you after that. I know this might sound obvious, but we need to realize that we are being attacked as a species at the deepest possible level. Our destruction happens first psychologically and then emotionally. And then it can easily manifest physically after that. So we need to completely shift our entire being out of that paradigm. We cannot wait for the masses to shift because I think it's obvious that many of them won't. So we need to do this for ourselves. And this will not be easy because we have been totally isolated from the rest of the universe on this planet. But my friends, it is now or never. We cannot afford to wait. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the nature of this timeline split as I see it right now. I believe that the final split is imminent because events are accelerating exponentially. Now, it's not like we're going to wake up one day and watch the whole planet Earth split in two. As I told you in my earlier video about the metaverse, there will be two versions of Earth, the fake AI version of Earth and the real Earth. As I showed you in that video, the corporate overlords are already well into that process of creating an AI life-sized version of Earth. This is not a secret, it is out in the open. This is a very complicated situation. I'll try to give you a simple version to make it easier to focus. Just understand that what I'm going to tell you will be overly simplified. So we will ultimately have two Earths, the real Earth that nature designed and the fake Earth that exists in the metaverse. Both will look exactly alike at first. Right now, preparations are being made to move society and our remaining civilization into living in the metaverse where the fake Earth is. Now, the controllers will have no problem with a lot of people dying who can't manage to do this. And you can read whatever you want into that. The first goal is for the controllers to detach us from the physical world and from nature. Their second goal is to detach us from what it means to be a natural human being. Put these two goals together and you can see that what they want to do is remove us completely from the natural universe at a soul level. Now, in nature, all is ultimately supported and backed by the laws and principles of creation and by omnipresent love. It's backed by the real creator. In AI, which is anti-nature, everything has to be artificially controlled. That's because AI is anti-God. AI wants to be more powerful than God, which is stupid, I know. But unfortunately, it still manifests as a deadly lie and illusion that causes an enormous amount of suffering in this universe. So let me show you how this all started out in the metaphor of the Garden of Eden. Now, obviously, that cartoon is way oversimplified, but I think it makes the point. And by the way, it's a metaphor. You should not be taking it literally. I depicted it as the return of the snake because it perfectly illustrates the fact that our human downfall has reached a new level. That's what the timeline split is all about. The first downfall was the proverbial eating of the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And that's just another way to depict duality. Duality creates all kinds of totally intractable problems. And now we have reached the second level of our human downfall, where the same sinister force that introduced duality is now offering a so-called solution. And that solution is AI, artificial intelligence and artificial life. So this has all been a setup from day one. First, you introduce duality, which can never be solved within its own construct of reality. And then you come back with a fake solution to that problem that only splits humanity further. This is really very simple, but it's very, very diabolical. And this is why accepting duality as a good idea is the equivalent of evolutionary suicide. Because look where we are now. So the timeline split that we are facing now is the final split from the natural universe. The first split was the split from the creator, and the second split, which we're about to experience now, is the split from the creator's actual creation. And that's why AI is literally being depicted as more powerful than God. They are actually saying that. So first we were told that we would be smarter than God, with the knowledge of good and evil, so that we could eventually be made to build the advanced systems of AI. And now we're being told that we can be more powerful than God if we reject our natural biological human bodies and become a part of AI. We are being told that AI can make us immortal. See, what we're facing now is merely phase 2 of AI's original plan. Now, you might wonder why we did not reject duality once we saw the horrible pitfalls and suffering that it creates. It's partly because religions abducted our spiritual sense of self and reinforced the lie that God created good and evil as some sort of bizarre test of our worthiness. And that was a brilliant idea because naturally it would be very easy to make us fail that test. It would make it easy for religions to fill us with guilt and self-hate. And destroying our sense of human worth is integral to getting us to eventually agree to abandon our natural human selves in favor of AI. So the essence of the timeline split is this. We started off as infinite beings who were at one with our Creator, living in total paradise. Then we experienced the fall into duality, which is the first phase of AI taking over a planet or a dimension of reality. From there, the process advanced exponentially over thousands of years to a point where the AI systems could be built out. Now we have reached phase 2 of our fall, which is right here. Everyone on Earth is somewhere on this line. The deeper you go on this line, the more difficult it will be to change course. The reason you want to be mindful of your state of consciousness is so that you never reach a point of no return as we move closer to that final timeline split. And the reason that I say that the timeline split is imminent is because there's no way to know when that point of no return will occur in people's consciousness. Once that occurs, there's no going back. Because even when the final split has not yet occurred on a collective level, the downward trajectory and momentum could have already been decided by any individual person in terms of themselves. And we are close enough now that this endpoint has already likely occurred for certain people on this planet. Now let's come back to this current month of June 2022. I think that this is a very important month energetically because we can be supported to come to terms with where we are as individuals in this very bizarre saga. The real focus right now needs to be with our actual level of consciousness. You might remember that I told you all in a previous video that the controller's need for this timeline split to occur first in our consciousness. They need for it to occur mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They need for us to reject ourselves on all three of those levels. And after that, the physical transfer becomes very easy. Therefore, we need to be extremely mindful of how the events of today are affecting us internally. Where is our consciousness right now? Now, on June 14th, we have a full moon. This is a great energy for releasing and letting go. I suggest that we do this in a much bigger way than ever before. This energy can support us in letting go and releasing old paradigms of reality that no longer apply. We can release the paradigms that have kept us trapped in this planetary situation for eons. And then on June 21st, we have the summer and winter solstice, depending on where you are in the world. This day marks a clear turning point in nature from one season to the next. For us, this energy can support us in making our own turning point in our cosmic life. This can mark a turning point that is much bigger and more vast than our current lifetime on this planet. This can mark a positive turning point in the life of our soul. So first, you want to have the release from paradigms of enslavement. And next, you can have a turning point towards freedom, integrity, and truth. It's time to turn away from the trajectory of our false belief in AI and from the duality that spawns its existence. This is really about making some epic shifts in our consciousness. That will change our vibration and put us on a new trajectory that leads back to a higher timeline of natural evolution. This will definitely take consistent effort, and it won't exactly be easy because of all of the forces on this earth that are working against us. But we can still do it nonetheless. All we have to do is be true to our human selves and remember who we are. And best of all, remember this: the real universe is waiting to welcome us back with open arms. All we have to do is begin by making the necessary changes within ourselves. The paradise that we originated from is still alive and well. Once we remove ourselves from this dream of insanity, it will be as though the suffering never happened. So have faith in yourself, love yourself, and stay connected to your heart. Ultimately, we human beings have a treasure trove of amazing capabilities that we can discover within ourselves the more that we hold fast to the integrity of who we are. And remember that the way to find that integrity of who you really are lies right within you, right within your heart. All you have to do is stay focused on the light that you are and the love that always lives inside of you. So if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you feel is really tired of this very weird journey and would like a helping hand. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and hit that notification bell because I am here every Tuesday with all new videos. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and high vibrational energy. Have a beautiful day, my friends. Namaste.